Welcome back to Hermitting with Holly and Susan, and we have Holly still out in her cottage, where I hoping it's warming up a little bit more for her as we've been filming these. That wood stove is doing
I'm
its
actually
job.
quite comfortable now. I still have a couple layers on, but yes, I'm quite comfortable.
Good. All right. Well, today's question is, what kind of research do you do for your books?
With the type of books I write, it's not like I'm doing historical novels or something like that that's really research intensive.
Mm-hmm.
They're contemporary books, and I sort of got the contemporary part down. But I have done a lot with medical things in it. And thankfully, I gave birth to my own medical resources.
There you go.
So a lot of my research, I will do some online. I will know what I want to do with it. In same time next summer, the daughter has a TBI, traumatic brain injury.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'd done research, and I knew she wasn't going to just wake up and start talking again, that there would be implications from it. So I contacted my daughter who works in an emergency room. I said, hey, could you find me someone? And here's what I think. Double check it and let me know. And so the physician she spoke to said, yeah, they don't wake up like in the movies. And exactly. I'm like, oh, good, because I wasn't going to do that. But like with stressing, the things that they stress are things that I made sure I covered. And like a couple times I've done like an IV or something. And we just were talking about the house or Briar Hill Road the other day in one of our videos. And I think that's the one where they were putting in a PICC line. Mm-hmm. And like you can read about it, but when I sent her the little clip of it, she corrected it. It wasn't quite the way it would have been done. So I do that kind of things. My goal with anything is to be close enough that somebody in that profession won't throw the book against the wall because I screwed it up too bad. I did some legal stuff in the book that's out now, Suddenly a Father. There's a legal issue that was tricky, and I knew I wanted to use it, but I wasn't sure how to bring it to some resolution. So I met with one of the judges here in town. Mm-hmm. Thank you again, Judge Stephanie. And we went out to lunch, and I said, here's what I'm doing here. And so we talked this really through, and she brought someone who worked with her along. And he spent a great deal of time pondering this, like great deal of time. And I'm like, I just needed to be close enough.
Right.
That if someone in the legal profession picks it up, they don't throw it against the wall. That's always my goal. Give me a little bit of leeway because it's fiction, but close enough. And he was like, seriously thinking about it. And like, we'd move on with the conversation and he'd be like, oh, and like come up with something else I needed to think about. So I've been really lucky that when I do need to do some research, there are enough people in my life that I can just make a phone call.
And the other thing is writer lists. Like you ask out on the writer list, and writers come from all walks of life. And if they haven't done it themselves, they know somebody who does. So if it's not medical or legal, where you got to get, but same thing for me. Like A Hero to Keep, Jack Denari, he was an ADA at the time. He's the district attorney now here in Erie. He helped me with the criminal law. I had another lawyer who helped me with the family court sections of the book. Firefly Wishes, right? I actually had transplant moms, a couple of them, who were my go-to people for questions like that. Like, would you let your kid do this? Well, I would. A lot of other parents wouldn't, but I would. Or I wouldn't, but a lot of other parents would. And just, kind of those kinds of things. So that, again, like you said, as long as it's something that is in the ballpark and in the realm of their reality, then I'm good to go. So,
yeah. Right. I'm trying to be that forgiving. Like if I'm reading a book or watching a TV show, if you can be close enough that I'm going to be like, I can see the loopholes I can be like, oh, really? But if you're telling me a good enough story, then I will just let it go. I'm
Exactly.
happy to give you the leeway on that. And so I hope that readers do the same for me, that when I come up with something, Crib Notes, which is in Hometown Hearts series as well, I had worked with teen moms for years. So, I mean, so many of the things I write about are things from my own life.
Hmm.
So I had not only my own personal experience, but I had the group of women who run the teen parenting program in Erie who were just fantastic. And again, I fictionalize it. It's not based on anyone. My character Ellie is her own person, and yet in some ways she's an homage to all those
All
really
of them.
fantastic women
Yeah.
who are so invested in their students. I know a lot of teachers, and I know all teachers really do throw themselves into what's going on with their kids, but these guys go just over and above. They are amazing, and I've been just very lucky that way. So most of my research just comes from talking to people.
But I would say though too, it is still something you should do. I mean, I do get upset when I read newbie writers stuff and it's like, okay, come on. Like, come on.
Right.
Do your base, and in fact today in this day and age, do your basic homework is so easy. You got the internet and the search engines and
Well, and my husband is a police officer, for those who don't know. And I have had many, many, many friends who are writing books that involve, police or criminals or whatever. And like, he doesn't even bat an eye anymore. I'm like, honey, if someone gets shot in the head by this type of gun, how big a splatter would it make? And he's just
how
like,
big a
answers the
hole.
question. Yeah,
Yeah.
just goes on with his day. Or like, honey, if you were in the Everglades and someone locked you in your own handcuffs and took your keys, might you have a spare somewhere on you? And he's like, some guys carry a spare. I'm like, that's all I need, thank you. And so
Perfect.
he he doesn't ask, he doesn't blink. He's
He
just like,
doesn't
yeah,
want to
whatever,
know.
mom.
Well, that's my buddy Diana Duncan, who writes, well, she writes all kinds of things, but she cut her teeth in romantic suspense. She actually approached a cop one day and asked him to handcuff her and put her in the back seat of his cruiser, and he did because she just wanted to see how it would feel or what. She also had her husband toss her in the trunk of their car so she could actually.
Oh, she's serious about her research.
She is. She really is. But yeah, there you go. Anyway, so that's research in a nutshell from us. So
All
we'll see you
right, have a
next
good
time.
one. We'll see you next time.